Hey there friends, I'm Sarah of My Home, Your Home, Our Home. Today I'm sharing with you all of my picks for preschool. I am really excited about the things that we've been able to gather around us this year. Before I begin, let me first of all just say I would love it if you subscribe because I would love to have you join our community here. I need to explain a few background details because every situation is different. Every homeschool will be different. Every child will be different. And the more you know about who we are, the more you can judge our decisions about homeschool books and whether those will fit with your situation as well. So first of all, we are a bilingual family. I have a son who is 3 years old and a son who is 1.5. And we're going to be doing school in both languages of Portuguese and English because my husband is from Brazil. So in addition to the resources today that I'm going to show you, we have some books in Portuguese. If you think, oh, that's not enough books for 1 year, well, don't worry, we have ourselves covered. And if you think, wow, I'm freaking out, this many books plus Portuguese books, we are just a book-loving family. So that's another point I should explain, is that we have this culture of reading in our family. We read a lot, even outside of school. And reading is super important to us. Literature is a great way for us to learn about the world. My sons are very entertained with it, and it's a great way for us to learn language. If you haven't yet considered why literature is good for learning another language, then check out my video all about that topic. Another thing that you should know is that my son is 3 and my other son is 1.5, and we're going to be trying to do school work somewhat together. My 1.5-year-old will join us as he is okay with it and as our situations allow us to do that, but I will have to have something occupying him for the moments where he can't participate, and I want something that's really family friendly for all of us to participate in together. My husband can do it or I can do it. Another thing that's really important to me is that it is a gentle approach. Preschool for a 3-year-old is a very early introduction to schooling, and I want my son to learn to love reading, learn to love school, learn to love learning. And so I want a gentle approach that is not going to overwhelm him. It's not going to require him to sit at a desk, or it's not going to require him to produce a whole bunch of things right at the beginning. But I want something that is going to teach him really strong foundations for all of the academic skills that he's going to need later on. Things like his pincer grasp, letter phonics and numbers, maybe some basic addition and subtraction types of ideas in his mind, good art and music foundations, and great literature and language. So all of those things are things that are shaping our homeschool and are shaping our family's approach to these resources this year. Hopefully you can see how this all works together. So I'm going to dive right in and show you all of the resources that I've gathered around us to use this year. First, our main curriculum pick. So I actually have chosen 3 different curriculums to be kind of our main curriculums this year, with the biggest main curriculum being Sonlight Curriculum's preschool program. This is their core T program, fiction, fairy tales, and fun. So we're going to be focusing in on fairy tales and just great literature. We also have Bible stories and great phonics foundations built in there, shapes, numbers, and some other activities that work on fine motor skills. I have a video all about that program, and you can check that out on my channel. Just a peek into Sonlight's what it includes. Here is the instructor's guide that we're going to be using, and I do have a video just unboxing all of this and showing you everything in detail, but we're going to be reading Bible, nursery rhymes, and great picture book classics. And my son loves this book so far. We have read almost the entire thing, and we're the 3rd week in many times because he just loves the story selections. I also am mixing in some of the gentle and classical press. This was introduced to me by Rachel from 7 and All. You can check out her channel for an overview of how she plans this curriculum, how she schedules it out, and also a review I believe she's working on for the entire year. This curriculum is great in that it has memory statement cards, has more of a classical leaning, and mixed in with Charlotte Mason, and that's something that I appreciate as well. It has Bible memory verses, which we want to work into all of our years of schooling, and it also has catechism, which I think is really important for learning strong biblical truth even at young ages. And so we're using all those resources. We're mainly focusing on the memory statement cards and a few other things, and I'm working on a video. As I'm making this video, I'm in the midst of working on a video of a week of our life using the gentle and classical curriculum. I also have a week of using the Sonlight curriculum, and the reason why I made these videos is because I actually find it more helpful to see how these curriculums or these products pan out in real life as compared to a video like this where you're just hearing about this list of resources and maybe why they were chosen. And so both videos are helpful, and I hope that in conjunction they can give you a very clear idea of these curriculums and these products, but I will try to give as much helpful information in that video as possible. So don't forget to subscribe so that you can see that video when it comes out. Hit the bell notification so that you'll be notified. But the Gentle and Classical is a whole bunch of printable resources. We bought them as printables, and we are going to use all their memory statement cards and also their general outline for each week, including some letter things that we're coordinating with Sonlight. I also have a video comparing the two curriculums because they're quite similar and quite different in their own ways, and then another video about how we're combining those. So hopefully those will help you. If you're looking at both of these curriculums, you can use them together. I think that they complement really well, and we really wanted a more robust program overall for our homeschool, and these both they delivered. So we are loving the Gentle and Classical so far and Sonlight curriculum so far. We are in our third week of homeschool. I know it's only May, and people are kind of winding down for the year, but for our family, we're actually gearing up for a big move, and I wanted something kind of solid and routine to give my son so that he is feeling more secure during this time. Another curriculum that we're using this year is purely preschool, and they do have a program in Spanish, though not Portuguese, called Puramente Preescolar. That program is in different units. We're using one of the units right now, and we're probably going to use future ones as well, but the one that we're using is called All About Me, and it's teaching basic things like feelings and name and family relationships and where you live and all these kind of things. And I wanted something to really focus in on that because I found that in the other programs we're using this year, they didn't really address feelings, and I thought that's a big gap kind of there. So we're going to use that one. That curriculum is made by Rachel from 7 and All. I know I've referenced her a lot already in this video. She has a great channel with resources and a great website with resources. So check her channel out, and I'll link everything that I'm describing in this video in the description box below so that you find it really easily. Okay. Now, talking about math. Math for preschool is a little bit of a touchy subject because I think a lot of moms think, oh, okay, we're just going to work on counting. And for us, that's really important, especially with 2 languages at work in our family. But I also want to give my son a good grasp of what the numbers will look like, and maybe some additional things like being able to picture and estimate numbers in his mind without having to count. We have several books that we're using for this. The first book that we have already been using is called Nibbles Numbers, and my son loves this book. It's a good introduction to the letters and the numbers because it's just a fun book. Oh, I have a paper in there. Interesting. Okay, it's just a fun book where you are watching a monster eat all of the different numbers, and then you're counting the holes in each page to match the number. So 1, 2, 2. And my son, he loves to, at the beginning, just say hi to Nibbles. Say hello to Nibbles. He loves to greet Nibbles, and he loves that this monster is so naughty. Okay, the next thing we're using for math is we're using some flashcards of numbers just so that we can work on ordering the numbers and identifying certain numbers. So I'll line them up and ask my son, where's number 2? We will try to rearrange them. We're not quite at that point yet because we're just learning how to count and recognize the numbers, but we're going to be doing several different games with these numbers throughout the year. We also have Counting Bears, which is a classic, I think, of preschool, and we're using that too. And we are using the book Preschool Math at Home by Kate Snow. This is a book that is included in the Gentle and Classical Curriculum's list of recommended resources. I also have a traditional workbook, and this one is from Scholastic. I believe I got it at Dollar Tree. At least I saw it at Dollar Tree recently, and I thought, okay, this is the same book that I have. So you can pick it up for $1, which is a great price for especially things for this age group. It's just pre-K math practice. This one we're tracing numbers. It also has you tracing numbers with letters. I'm not sure that we're going to do that because my son is not quite at writing stage yet. But you're going to be coloring things based on the number of dots. So we're working on colors and counting dots. Then you have matching groups of items, circling more and less. And my son has a general idea of these concepts already, so hopefully it's gonna work out just fine for us. And then we're matching shapes. So there are quite a few things in here that are kind of a little bit of a step up from counting, but have great things about shapes and colors that expands his expression of math. Ah! I wonder if that's a secret signal that my husband's trying to call me. Okay. So I have made a video all about our morning time circle time resources. I really appreciate circle time as I've seen it expressed in classrooms, and just it gives us, our family, a time to gather around together, reset our minds that we're starting school, help us to reinforce concepts and learn some concepts that we're not learning otherwise through other curriculum that we're using. So we have these felt people that we're going to be dressing in clothes according to the weather. We have some calendar resources, some things to talk about weather, feelings, seasons, all of that. And you can check that out in the video I've made all about that. Also, for just in general phonics, letters, we do have some things included in the Gentle and Classical and in Sonlight's curriculum, some worksheets, that kind of thing, some activities with sand and Play-Doh and all those things. But I also have these workbooks that are really fun with stickers for fine motor skills, stickers, tracing, those kind of things to work on pencil, pincer grasp. And so this is the Scholastic You're Ready for Pre-K Jumbo Workbook. This was not expensive. It's from Amazon. And we're going to work on colors, letters, some identifying early phonics, that kind of thing, rhymes. I don't know how much of this we're going to get through in this year, but my son really likes it and has asked to do several pages already. So for him, it's a delight, and we can put stickers on each page. He is working on writing his name on each page, which I think is an important concept for him to get early on, is to show that it's his work by writing his name on every page, and it's good practice for writing. And then we're just working on pencil control. You can see here that he has a very good pincer grasp. We didn't even have to teach that to him. He just automatically got it. But he is working on pen and pencil control. And so we have a huge workbook to work on that. Another workbook that I have is the Scholastic Wipe Clean workbook. This one was $5, I believe, from Amazon, and it's reusable because it's wipe clean. And it has the letters, some numbers. Again, it does have some numbers written out, and I don't think we're going to get to that, but it has some like ordering numbers, and it has shapes and some color things. So this is a fun thing we can keep using throughout the year. If I'm seeing that he's struggling with a concept or he just wants extra practice, we're going to pull this one out. I also have created resources for our family for bilingual Portuguese and English. In Brazil, it has actually been illegal to homeschool Brazilian children in the past. Foreigners, totally do your own thing. But recently there has been some laws in the process, kind of in some states, that have made it more legalized. Great result of COVID is that kids were able to study at home, and I think the government saw that some families are very responsible with those things, with the schoolwork, and so some families preferred to have their kids at home, and now I think there's kind of a change in the air. But because of that situation with Brazil, and I don't think in Portugal homeschooling is very common either, there aren't a lot of resources in Portuguese and English for homeschool, and so I've decided I'm going to make some to share with people, and they're on my website if you ever want to check them out. But this one is some cards that I've made in Portuguese and English for colors and fruit. I'm also working on a lot of other ones for us to use in our family, and again I'll show you those. But I have games in here, game boards to use with these cards. We have the names of the fruits in Portuguese and English, the fruit itself, so we can do some matching games and stuff, the colors, and also the fruit with the names, and just a lot of different ways to practice these vocabulary words. So if you're teaching it as a foreign language as well, and you want your kids to pick up Portuguese in addition to English, and you're not bilingual as a family, this can work for you as well. I know that exposure to languages at the beginning of school can be really beneficial for kids. So even if you're not a bilingual family, you can look into resources like this to help your kids to pick up vocabulary from another language. So this is something that we're including very intentionally this year to work on some vocabulary words with my kids. Also, for bilingual education, we've picked up books in Portuguese and English, bilingual books in the US. There aren't a ton, but there are a few good quality ones, and I have a video all about the different educational resources for in Portuguese and English that are available in the US. I'm not sure if that video has come out yet at the time of this airing, but if not, it will be soon, so stay tuned tuned for that. Another thing you should know about my son is that he is just starting to really make some sentences, because his speech has been not delayed exactly, but he has been struggling with some pronunciation, and he has been a little bit hesitant to speak. So he's understood perfectly fine. We're not questioning his hearing or his processing of what he's hearing, but he has had a little bit of confusion because we've been traveling a lot and hearing a lot of different languages around us, and that has changed a lot of his input. And so right now he is starting to speak more clearly, choosing some more words in English, and beginning to say sentences. And actually what we've done so far in our preschool program has really caused a big difference in him. But another thing has been that I have started taking a course for speech therapy at home called Toddler Talk. Toddler Talk. And we have really enjoyed it. So I'll leave a link for that resource below as well. And if your child is struggling, like I am this morning, with pronunciation, with vocabulary, all of the grammar or whatever language, the stage that they're at as a preschooler, then check out that program. It's not just for bilingual kids, and I can highly recommend it. It's not expensive, and it's very worthwhile. In addition to the fiction and fairy tales from Sonlight, we have just some other books that we're going to be incorporating throughout the year. This one is an Usborne pop-up fairy tales, and my sons love this. It is a beautiful pop-up book with lots and lots of detail on each page. And one of my favorite parts is when the wolf is blowing, because it actually moves, and there are 2 pages of that. So my sons love this story so far. We've read it many times, and we're including that in our preschool. And I'm going to try to look for other Usborne pop-up books for fairy tales, because I think it's really nice to have an anthology of these stories, but it's also great for them to be able to pick up each story by itself and just have something really interactive and fun about it. Science. So with purely preschool, we do have a unit in the unit on the human body and our bodies and all about that, but we don't have a lot of science or human body in Sonlight or in the Gentle and Classical. And I'm not sure why that is. I know in the past these programs did include that, or at least Sonlight did include that. So it's kind of a mystery to me why Sonlight dropped that, but we're just going to keep going with that theme. So we do have some books about the human body and some resources about that. This is one of them. It's a shine a light book. So you're going to put a light behind the page. It's going to show some hidden images, and it's just going to show you what's inside of the body. Some other science books that we're using are another shine a light book about oceans, because my kids love animals, and then some lift the flap first questions and answers. And these ones are hits already in our family, especially this one, what is poop? Of course, with all their boys who are being potty trained, this is a huge hit, and they just love talking about it. Then we have some other ones that are interesting to my sons. They love the moon and the stars, and we're talking about germs as well, because we're learning about washing our hands, brushing teeth, clouds, and snow. So these are great interactive resources. They have lift the flaps and a lot of information inside that's really in bite-sized pieces. There's not a whole ton of text. So I'm finding that as we're reading these, my boys are content with staying on the page while we're reading everything. And sometimes that is a challenge for some books that are very informative. So these are really perfect, I think, for preschool age. Also kind of related to the human body, but also because of our unique situation of living overseas, and just because of the age of my boys where they're curious about their bodies, we are doing some books all about body safety and an appropriate touch. And these are going to be super important for us as a family, just to keep reviewing throughout the years, because we want our sons to really get this concept really well for their own protection and for the protection of other people, that they learn how to appropriately interact with people. I have a video all about teaching kids to just be able to say no and to avoid inappropriate touch in another culture. Very complex situation. Very complex, but I have a video exploring all of that topic. I also have a video about all of the books we're going to be using throughout the years so far, all the ones that we've gathered around us for teaching about this topic of body safety. So check those videos out, and we're going to just be talking about what our bodies are. So this is kind of with science, your whole body. Love this book so far. It does have some parts I've not liked, where it just says some people have a penis, some people have a vagina, and it's just like, you could be a little more clear in defining genders there. it's very politically correct in that way. But the rest of it, the information is great, and I'm just going to edit that as we read so my boys get a clear picture. This is a girl, this is a boy, and just the wonder of how God made us. So who has what is all about girls' bodies and boys' bodies. Again, contrasting girls' and boys' bodies, but also saying that they are very similar in many, many ways. And we all have belly buttons. We all have legs, we all have knees. So this book I talk about more in depth in my other video. Then just some things about pornography, avoiding pornography, because kids get exposed at really young ages, very sadly, and just explaining to kids we don't look at those kind of pictures. They're like poison for our brains. And so just teaching them how to respect other people through what we look at and what we think. Then also just explaining an early concept of where babies come from. And this is a very age-appropriate one. It does not go into details about sexual intercourse or anything like that. It's for ages 3 to 5. And there's a whole series, so it does get progressively more detailed and informative for different ages, but this one is a good starting point for us. It is quite a bit of text for each picture, but I think we're going to kind of make our way through it slowly maybe and just talk about each page. It does have some informative parts at the beginning for parents, kind of a guide for parents, and maybe some questions to discuss. This book is about consent, and so no means no. It also will be for us about respecting other people's decisions. If they say no, it's no. We need to respect that. And if your brother says no to you, you don't keep pushing for a yes. And it just talks about how it's okay to say no, even to adults that you trust, if you feel uncomfortable with something about how they're touching you or something like that, like tickling or this kind of thing. You can say no, and people should respect that. And so it just gives kids a voice, especially if they're struggling with that. Some kids are more timid to say no to adults. My son is not timid to say that. But we'll talk about when it's appropriate to say no and when he actually needs to listen to authority. So that would be a good discussion point. Music and art, those are included in the gentle and classical. Also, Purely Preschool has some in different unit studies. I don't think there's one in the All About Me unit study that we're going to be using, but if you're looking into that program, they do have some art appreciation, and there's music in there, and Sonlight has music included in their program as well. So we're going to be studying like Vincent van Gogh, Matisse, through the gentle and classical, and also we're listening to Peter and the Wolf, and that one we have a storyboard to go along with that. It's really fun, and so we're going to be narrating the story and listening to the story. And I do have some CDs for Maestro Classics that talk about that story. I really recommend that resource. I found out about Maestro Classics through Summer Myers here on YouTube. She has a great video all about music education in their homeschool, so if you're interested in looking into music education and appreciation, check out her video linked in the description below. And we are also going to be starting just to listen to classical music throughout our day, including things like Classical Kids. These are stories interwoven with different pieces of very famous classical music. And so I just want my boys to be hearing this stuff, and having stories attached with it helps them to remember. I know I grew up with Classical Kids and I loved those stories. And now I'm introduced to Maestro Classics, and it explains the music as it goes along as a narrative, and so I really am excited to hear that as well. We do have some Usborne musical books that we'll be using mostly during our transitions. I haven't gotten them out yet because I don't want my boys to wear out the batteries yet or to get bored with them at all, which I don't think will happen, but we're just going to be really gentle with those until we actually are in the midst of our move. But those are also going to play a part in our preschool program. Those are all the resources that I have to show you today about our homeschool for math, science, language arts with phonics, and in general, just appreciation of literature. Again, I have all the resources that are in this video listed in the description box below. I hope this video was helpful to you. Tell me, is there something that you have found really helpful for preschool, especially for ages 2, 3, 4? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't yet introduced yourself and you're new to this channel, I would love to meet you. I don't want this just to be a one-way monologue. I would love to interact with you guys. Thanks so much for all of your time and watching this video, and thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't yet checked out my other videos that I have mentioned in this video about body safety, bilingual homeschool, literature for teaching language, then check those out here, and I will see you guys next time. Love you. Ciao.